Swan earlier
All right,
tonight,
we're on now.
and her StreamYard crashed.
When I went to make it, when I went to log in, there was some message about higher than normal traffic. And hey, random kid, we went ahead and hit live since you spoke up. So there you go. I'm hiccuping for some reason. I feel like a drunk in a Bugs Bunny cartoon from like the 60s. And hicking out, and you burp and the bubbles come out. Did you record that, Joe? Don't record that.
Always.
You gotta have something to play next week when I'm not
That's
here.
gonna be so stupid. But yeah.
There's another clip I could grab.
But yeah. So yeah, but that's the layout what we're gonna try this year.
Cool.
We're still always looking at moving to a different hotel, but it does kind of become the devil you know versus devil you don't. But they're having more serious talks with me about that. This year was still a no-go for that, but they understand why. They understand the part, but and they understand when I say that, it's really Regina, but she really understands the mentally the size of the rooms, and she can see where maybe something like the Westin were to have a setup hopefully similar to the gaming track, where maybe we could share a big room with somebody else or something, but still control it versus having to book Crystal. It's like us taking over Crystal Ballroom. Right. That'd be, but it's the seed is there. I mean, it really locked in, and I could tell she's like, okay, picturing it and trying to figure it out. And so I know if as soon as the opportunity arises, and she says, you know, most other tracks, I don't think she said no, but she said most other tracks don't own 2 rooms. So no, I understand it. I definitely appreciate it, but
those are tiny
rooms.
We
could do 3 rooms. I mean, we can do 3 rooms, to be honest.
Yeah.
Most other tracks,
and we actually do.
Most other tracks do half the number of panels we do.
Yeah, and she owns that. I mean, that's one. That's
is that true? Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the minimum is 36. We do close to usually right in the 60 range is what we do. So not quite half of what we do.
60 to 70 is what we normally do.
But if you look in the app, it's over 100 because every panel we do also gets rebooked as Twitch. So it's listed in the app as twice for every panel other than the big rooms. So when you listen in the app and you look at all the tracks, it's like 38, 40, 38, 40, 162. I mean, it's not that much, but yeah.
Right.
All right. Put the marker in. We're going to get going here. And let's do this.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted by 2 hilarious dads who are bringing their unique blend of wit, wisdom, and nerdiness to the airwaves. From sharing hilarious anecdotes about their own experiences to giving advice on navigating the ups and downs of life, these 2 dads have got you covered. But that's not all. They're also obsessed with all things nerdy, from comic books and sci-fi movies to video and board games. So whether you're a fellow dad, a pop culture fanatic, or just in need of a good laugh, tune in to Wise and Nerdy and join in the fun.
Shut up, Mike.
Oh, that's not even Mike. That's hilarious. You're so funny, sir. I forget. So welcome to Wise and Nerdy, where fatherhood meets fandom. And tonight we're going to talk about our fandom. And I am a little bit of a fan of AI. Guys, tonight I did something special. I did something different.
Right?
Every time we set this stuff up on every time we have to set up StreamYard, right, for the broadcast, and what's the title, which is I like her catchphrase. So I put Wise and Nerdy, where fatherhood meets fandom. And then I put today's date because it'll go on YouTube and all that stuff. So I did that. And then what's the description? So tonight, in your doofus's honor, I went to ChatGPT and went, I'm going to quote, here's how this went down. And this is literally what's describing our show for all the live streams right now. Me, tell me a bad dad joke. ChatGPT, why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts. I cue Joe laughing, right? Then me, that's bad. All right, funny. ChatGPT, glad you enjoyed it. Here's another one for you. It's like it listens to the show. Because I'm like, no, I didn't ask for another one. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he's outstanding in his field. Me. Stop! You're killing me.
I have one more for you.
TP goes, all right, just one more and I'll stop. What do you call fake spaghetti? An impasta. 2 out of those 3 jokes I've heard Joe tell on this show. So all I can do is picture Joe. Like I didn't get actual AI. Somehow it routed to Joe's computer before he logged off for the day. He's like, oh, I got Charles. Brrr. And just start. And so I said, you're the best. And he says, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed the jokes, which I did not. I did not say that. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. If you need more laughs or anything else, just feel free to ask. And that, gentlemen, is the description of tonight's show. So
just to be clear, those dad jokes don't count.
I guess fair enough.
See, everybody, Charles secretly likes bad dad jokes.
I do not. I just know what was hilarious is quite literally, I'm like, all right, cool. As soon as I hit enter respond, it just tells another one. It's like, no. And yeah, I just wanted to see how far to go at that point, but it was good. So are you boys ready?
It's the question of the week.
Shut up, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, I told Joe the story so he'd help me remember. And so I tell it live here. The question of the week is chosen by the dice. I rolled the percentile dice, is what Joe told me they were called, and it came up 73. So this is joke number 73 on the list. Not joke, question of the week, number 73 on the list. If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be? All right, so which one of you Carmen San Diego's is going to start first?
I would go to Scotland. A lot of my ancestors are from Scotland, and I put in the chat, Loch Ard or Lake Ard is in Scotland.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of your ancestors owned a lot of my ancestors. I don't know.
What? I didn't realize your ancestors were indentured servants. And
we're
then,
Welsh. I mean, what else are they
you were
going
like,
to be?
Hey, Pokemon Go podcast, Uno reverse card. I own you now.
So you've tracked your family down to a puddle in Scotland.
Yep.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I've got a lot of ancestry from Scotland and England in general. So, but yeah.
So is Loch Ard a real?
It's a real place. Yes.
So
yes.
you did okay, Kurt.
Well, yeah. So, it's funny. All I can picture is Joe, like on a boat around Loch Ard or Loch Ard.
And so all I can picture is a tiny
here's the
tub
thing.
with a big rowboat in it.
Well, but he's not likely to actually go, so he could probably do it virtually. So to my mind, that's an aardvark.
No. Kurt.
Virtual arc.
Kurt.
V arc. Vark.
Kurt.
Yes.
That was just backstabbingly wrong, sir.
Oh yeah.
That's no. We have a section. It's coming up.
You want me to tell it again there? Okay, cool. I got that.
Man, hey, guess what, everybody? The last 2 recordings of this month, Kurt won't be here. Hoorah!
Woohoo!
All
right.
Let's see. Okay, where are we? Question: where are you traveling?
Oh, where am I traveling, or where would I want to travel?
Yeah, no. Where, if you can go anywhere in the world.
If I could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? The bathroom, because I drank these way too fast. No, you know what's weird is this is going to sound crazy because it's definitely possible. The Grand Canyon.
Why the Grand Canyon?
I've never been, and I don't have a driving desire to go overseas for anything. Like, I don't care if I visit Europe. I don't care if I visit Asia or any other country. And part of it is because there's so much in my own country that I've not seen yet. Like, our country is so big that I can kind of get whatever I need and have whatever experiences I want here.
Okay.
I don't, I just don't, I'm not driven like you see people are like, I would love to go visit Ireland. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
there definitely is plenty to see here in the United States in general. There are plenty of states that I've never been to, even in the continental U.S., let alone Hawaii and Alaska.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. And so, that being said, I travel. I'm going to Bermuda end of next week. I've been to various places in Mexico and Honduras and Belize. I went to, and fine, that was great. And I've been to the Bahamas, but I mean, I like vacationing, but it's not something if I don't go again, it's going to be a problem. That'd be Mama, not MoMA, random kid. So anyhow, it's kind of a boring answer, but like I like to go.
Nobody questioned your choice here, other than you.
No. It's because it's kind of an uncreative answer. It's just there's a lot. I've never been to the Smithsonian Institution, like any of them. Any of the museums, and I'd like to do that at some point.
Okay.
But again, it's in the U.S., so it's kind of boring to normal people.
Okay.
I went to one of the Smithsonian's a couple years back with the boys when we visited Washington, D.C.
Air and space?
No. At least I assume not, because most of the stuff we saw was about dinosaurs. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it was very hot and it was free, so we walked in and it was air conditioned, and we're like, great, let's walk around.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, there's
kids
plenty.
Have I ever told you how I met your mother?
So what about you, Charles? Where would you like to go?
I would love to go to Tokyo to eat at the 3-star Michelin sushi restaurant that's in the Tokyo subway that seats, I think, 11 people.
Is that the Jiro Dreams of Sushi place?
It is. And I mean, it's not going to happen. It'll never happen because he's still alive. I looked it up. He's still alive. He's actually still doing it himself. Well, obviously he's taught people as well. He's 98.
Yeah.
And I would love to go with him. And yeah, okay, random kid is not just. You can remove just, but Charles wants to see Godzilla.
Well,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, man, I love sushi, and I've watched that documentary a few times, and it's amazing. And it's actually been 10 years. 10 years now, according to the internet. Since that, or 2022 is 10 years. So it's been 12. But yeah, that's that. And there's other. I'd love to do stuff in Tokyo, but that's the one that's like that experience. If I could get that experience, that would be amazing.
I believe that. Yeah. I mean, and that would be the reason I might travel like that is honestly for food. Because a level of food that you can't get here, really. I guess maybe you can, but the hunt for it would be way more difficult.
Oh yeah, because everywhere you go, like, oh, this is Chinese food. No, it's not really. It's Americanized Chinese food, or it's the American spin.
Yeah.
The Demon Slayer Park in Japan.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. All right.
Roll that dice.
Shut up, Mike. Roll
Let
that
Daddy
dice.
decide.
So your camping trip's canceled.
It sure is.
You're doing a graduation, but I think you have time to celebrate after the graduation with your kids on the microphone, recording the right actual.
It's not my fault. You keep changing them.
We haven't changed it this calendar year. All right.
All right, but the answer was
Dear _
that was not the same. That was not.
It's all randomized on the button. All the different variations of this topic that you've had.
I don't even remember saying those words.
Advise me, Daddy.
So this is the Council of
Mike.
Dads, right? All right.
No,
So
this is how
up.
do I?
None of those said that.
No,
Kurt?
they don't.
Kurt, we need
What?
you just to look at the 5 segments and re-record. What are you nerding out about? Daddy, tell me a story. How do I? Bad dad joke and the Council of Dads. So this apparently is how do I really need some help. Right
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
could really use some help right now.
So now that we've kind of settled into this kind of new, I'm not going to say new format, but you know what I mean, the adjustment, right?
Sure.
I absolutely can go re-record stuff. That's easy. Now that I have a better vibe for the whole thing, and now that we kind of are on a roll the way that we're going. So yeah, cool.
Awesome. May is Mental Health Month. And I thought I did a mental health panel last night with a few people awesome over at the Dragon Con stream. And there's a story for Daddy Tell Me a Story I wanted to bring up specifically. So I thought this would all work together. So under how do I get some help? And I know all 3 of us have gone through things. I would be surprised, Joe, if it wasn't something to do with the church, which is perfectly fine and acceptable. Kurt, I would, my guess for you, Kurt, it would be peers and or mentors. And I'm curious to hear. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, so let's see. Probably right before COVID, I started seeing a therapist. And mainly because I cared about my friends so much that I didn't want to burden them with my problems.
Gotcha.
And I couldn't turn to family because you can't talk openly about them to them. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not even saying that you're mad or you're angry or whatever. It's just being brutally honest about what you're feeling and what you're going through. And it took me forever to accept that I needed to talk to somebody. And once I did, it was probably one of the best things I ever did. Now I stopped seeing them after about a year, but I was in a much better place after that. And I was able to process things that, I think I was borderline depressed, clinically depressed.
Sure.
Because there was talk of medication, and that's a mental block for me. I wanted to go as much as I could without having to go through medication and whatnot. Although there were a couple of times where it's not even judgmental. It was a thing for me. And I thought about it a couple of times, but I got to the point where just talking things out, and being able to talk to somebody without judgment was very valuable. Very, very valuable. But it was hard. And finding somebody, I had to ask somebody I trusted for a referral because I didn't want to do the Yellow Pages. Oh, Yellow Pages Kids. That's an old timey book. I'm
kids,
sorry.
Joe. Explain it to Joe.
Yeah. So Joe, the Yellow Pages is an old timey book. Oh crap.
Yeah, it's the one that strong people would rip in half, right? That was all it was ever used for.
Oh, you've seen those reruns. Okay, yes. so yes, it has these things called paper pages. And they would have telephone numbers of nearly everybody in your area. It was the weirdest thing.
But why were they yellow?
That was businesses. The white ones were for regular, normal residential people. But I didn't want to randomly choose somebody, right?
Sure.
I had to ask for referrals. Now, luckily, I had a friend who works in a therapy office, and she's not a therapist, but she had like 4 that she worked with in the office. And so I said, "Can you refer me to someone?" And that was the way it went, and he was great. He really was awesome, and I appreciate everything that he did for me and helped me do, even during COVID, because we did all telehealth stuff, but it was a Zoom call basically.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great. But it's sometimes hard to get over that hurdle, that first hurdle. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I know that from a societal standpoint, especially guys my age and older, there was a whole lot of stigma attached to suck it up and handle your crap, and now my generation has gotten to a point where we kind of are accepting that, we got to get some help. But there's that divide even within Gen X that, handle your crap and I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
So what about you guys?
The only time I've gone to see a therapist was after my dad passed.
Mm-hmm.
So my late teen years. So when I was 16, went and saw a therapist. Me, my sister, my younger brother, all did. Because my mom wanted us to go have someone to talk things out about. And it helped. It did. And my mom was seeing a therapist at the time as well. And yes, that was one that, unlike random kid who said the first step in getting help is to ask. This one, I didn't ask. My mom said, "You're going," and I resisted at first. I really did. And then she also, and this wasn't a therapist, but she scheduled me and my sister to go to I guess a bereavement group that the school put on. My high school put on a bereavement group, and it was like once a week during one of our periods, we would be excused from class to go to this group, and we talked about memories of our loved one that had passed. We talked about our own viewpoints for the hereafter and things like that. And so, yeah, I know a couple of times people were like, "Oh, I really appreciated your comment during that," and stuff like that. So it helps. It helps to talk.
But you were school age.
Yeah, my dad passed when I was 16.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So what beyond that kind of help? What about? I did actually envision, Joe. You might say, "Yeah, I spoke to I don't have the terminology right. This is not me being funny about Mormons, but what in my world would be a pastor. I spoke to my religious leader about you don't even this or a dilemma I had parenting. I knew the story about your therapy. We had talked about that one before, and I do agree with random kid. I changed it a little bit. The first step in getting help is actually admitting to yourself you need it, which is basically what he's saying about asking for help. But you really have to allow yourself to ask for help. I know certain points in my life, I went to my parents, and then that became not a thing for me because I didn't have that that guilt, that stigma of like you don't get counseling, but the counseling had to be church basically, and you go talk to your preacher or whatever. Well, my dad's my preacher, I'm not can't really go do that, then unfortunately a lot of the time the help came down to pray about it, and throughout different parts of my life, I did a little bit of marriage counseling. I did talk to some preachers. I have found in my life that I outrun people mentally very quickly. I'm very self-aware about things. So if I'm stuck, essentially you're helping chip away and you break that hole open, then I just run and it scares people. But I always say that to say, I think a lot of people are that way. I think my wife's that way. We have not done therapy, and I'm very clear about that word therapy because there's counseling, which I've done a lot of, and even better help with what I did on that app. I liked the app, but it was counselors. It was not licensed therapists, which is a different ballgame.
Yep.
And my wife did it too for a little while, and we both had kind of the same issue. We're talking to somebody that's not clicking. They're not either listening or we feel like we just sense that very much that rote answer because they don't really know what to tell us. And my wife gave up before I did. I mean, I got to the point where I was okay. I was like, yeah, this is just not where I belong right now, is in that arena. But she gave up. And I think it's because you have to allow yourself to, one, get help, but then secondly, understand that not everybody who's offering help can help. And that's again, I'd recommend BetterHelp. I'd recommend any of the apps that you find work for you. I did BetterHelp twice. I did it once for a little while, got somebody to help me some. I had a breakthrough. They didn't know how to keep up, so I just stopped doing it. And then later on, I did it again. Same kind of thing. Is I don't, because you're right, Kurt, it is helpful to talk to people without judgment. That's literally my origin story for podcasting. You talked about you can't talk to your family about them, right? Because
Right.
I mean, at least for me personally, I was young, I was in my late 20s. And so part of me knew I was probably wrong about some of my opinions and thoughts, but I needed that open therapy. Well, I didn't know therapy then, but I needed that space so a therapist could guide you around the mistaken crap to the real crap. But somewhere in there, you're like, I can't talk to my family about this because they can't help me. And so ultimately, that's why I turned on the microphone and just started talking to the world, because strangers are strangers and I don't really care. The therapist is a stranger, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at a monitor screen or a wall at the time. I'd look at a wall just to tell my stories, because I think it boils down to, for all of us, you have to talk to somebody. You have to get help somewhere. And Google is out there. Is it? I know Georgia has a suicide prevention, not suicide prevention hotline, mental health emergency hotline. I don't know if it's a federal number or not, but in Georgia, we have one. I should have looked it up. I guess I just thought of it. But there's instead of 911 and 411, right? It's 811 is what I think the mental health line is. It's been a hot minute since I've had to recommend it to somebody. I always try, and that's the other thing. Good, Joe.
Tennessee's is 988.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you can search for it if you need it. It's pretty easy to find.
So there's stuff like that. You can Google all kind of stuff around you. Sometimes I've never been to an AA meeting, but I quote that serenity prayer quite often in life to people and working on things into myself.
For those that don't know it, why don't you say what it is? Because it's good.
Okay. I when I say quote, you realize you're dealing with, right? I have pieces of it, and the pieces are,
Here,
Lord, help me to change the things that I can, let go of the things that I can't, and the wisdom to understand the difference of the two. Something
basically.
And I mean, just because you're not an alcoholic doesn't mean you can't go to AA and just talk to some people who understand trauma. Okay, Kurt.
So just to Joe's point, 988 is the national hotline.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I got it mixed
so
up.
like 911, 988 is available for everybody in the United States.
Yeah, so there you go. That's something to know more about. We also need to make sure people understand that we can listen without judgment. Because if we can't, right? My wife and I, we're not going to give therapy to each other. We're going to fight shit out. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Sorry, Joe. Mental health month. Mental health. I just messed up somebody's mental health. I apologize. Come to our Discord. We'll give you a free counseling session. Kurt will talk to you.
We need a disclaimer on there.
Yeah, please.
We are not professionals. We are geeks.
We're the council of dads.
We have 2 ears.
So
if you want to spill your guts to a dumb beep, then you can absolutely talk to me.
I do apologize for that one. But you have to be available, right? There and truth matters, and you have to be able to say truth in a certain way. So there's definitely people I can talk to. There's definitely people that I know can listen. But if you don't find it the first time, you got to keep looking, is what I'm saying. I've had people at work talk to me about their life. And that for me, I'm good with. I'm not friends with any of my employees. Everything is I'm very personable. And so and in our line of work, I think in any line of work, but definitely in EMS, personal and work mesh a lot there. Honestly, I want to throw this one out to you guys, and we'll move on to the next section as you wish. But sometimes being self-aware, or you can help yourself counsel, right? And once you admit you need help, you're open to help. Listening to podcasts about the help that you need, about the things you're going through, or just something that you feel drawn to will help. It might, you don't understand. I was doing research on an author that I was going to interview, and she actually did an episode on her ADHD. And while I have some ADHD, it's not like what most people deal with, right? And my wife has it worse than I do, and so on and so forth. But even that, just it didn't help me with any of that. What she was talking about helped me with another section of my life that I was struggling with. That really went through. Okay, so Joe said his wife's therapy, she listens to a bunch of true crime murder. You know what, Joe, you shouldn't be worried, because that's not a how-to, that's a everybody gets caught. My life is not quite as bad. I see why she murdered her husband. My life's not as bad.
Yeah. I've told my friends around here that if I ever die of mysterious causes, it was my wife. She did it. She'll get away with it, and I probably deserved it.
Yeah. Random Kid says having someone you can be vulnerable with is crucial to mental health.
Yes.
I definitely have somebody that, even if it's, because usually we schedule calls or something to hang out or text or whatever. So if I just randomly call, if they can't talk, they'll go, "Hey, are you okay?" Because we are vulnerable with each other, and we get each other's back. So, I mean, that's how do you, I want to hear from you guys, whatever you want to say about this, but what's one way you show yourself vulnerable to others that you help them?
I only because I want to jump in only because this is one of the key things in my weight loss daily vlog stuff. And the way that I show that I'm vulnerable and show my true self is to be as transparent as possible when I'm recording these daily vlogs. Sometimes it's just like, here are the stats for today, no big deal. Sometimes it's like, man, I'm having a really bad day, and I went over the edge, and I did this and I did this. But it's the key to all that for me has been complete honesty. And it is really hard to accept to be truly honest with yourself and then be able to say that out loud. Really hard. And
would you say part of that is your therapy? Like you're not talking to a therapist in that moment, but you're being vulnerable to a therapist.
Oh yeah. It's absolutely cathartic. Like I can by simply being open and honest and transparent to a bunch of strangers, even though I've gotten to know some of the people that follow me, just that helps relieve some stress. And frankly, just saying things out loud makes you feel lighter. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so it's really funny. I had a situation today with my boss. We do quarterly, they're not really reviews, but they're quarterly discussions. And we had an issue like a couple of weeks ago where he criticized me in public.
Yeah, I think you talked about that.
I might have. And today it came up, and honestly, by now it's water under the bridge. He's one of my best friends in the world, so we don't hold grudges for very long. It's a heat of the moment thing. But I said, you know what would have helped? If you just said I'm sorry right away.
Yeah.
Because his response to me was, he did reach out right away and he said, "Are you okay?" But that's not the question I wanted to hear, because that expects a response out of me now.
Right.
And makes me take responsibility for reacting to it and whatever. But if he had just said, "I'm sorry," then I would have been able to go, "Oh, okay." And you know, and that's another topic for another night. Probably is the types of apologies, because there's like 6 major ways to apologize and accept apologies, and how people react and everything. It's a whole different thing. But winding back, it's all about just being as open and honest as possible and being truthful with yourself first, and then with anybody you're talking with afterwards.
Couldn't follow that out too much.
Roll that dice.
Shut up, Mike.
Shut up, Joe.
Charles had to remove me from the stream momentarily because my facial features were not
killing me. He is so. His heart is there, and he's talking. And Joe gets a text from his wife about being murdered in his sleep. Yep. I don't see that. When he sees it,
I know.
It was like we're in church because the preacher was preaching, and Joe's sitting there. I'm looking down. I took him off. I even kept my little hover over you to remove. It's over your face. Okay.
I had a Death Star moment. I had a Death Star moment. I was just like, stay on target.
Exactly. And then like, okay, I bring him back. And
my
the
bad.
second his digital eyes with me, he tries to laugh. I cannot ruin this moment.
I'm sorry.
Crying out
my
loud,
bad.
son. You kidding me?
Man.
And that was well said, Kurt. And thank you for getting through it.
No problem.
Suffering through it.
What are you nerding out about now?
Shut up, Mike.
Oh. Also, Kelsey says, sorry, guys. No. That was your husband's fault for bringing you into the show, for calling you out, and then sharing the private sweet nothings you texted to him.
I know where you sleep. Those sweet nothings.
So, all right.
Did you forget already?
No.
What are you nerding out about?
I know. Okay, that one. Finally, your kids get one right. No, it's just the third nerding out thing. And I was like, wait, what? So, battle game in 5 seconds.
I was wondering how long it would take people to see it.
I saw it.
I don't look at it until I get here.
Yeah, so Battle Game in 5 Seconds is an anime title. Did you guys want to guess what it's about before we get into it?
Battle Game. Go ahead. I haven't.
I'm going way sideways.
Yep.
It's a social media parody where people are trying to explain this battle game in 5 seconds, like Battle Game for Dummies, and somehow it all goes awry. They get sucked into the demon internet.
The demon internet. Okay.
That's my guess.
I'm gonna guess it is. It takes place in the middle school on the playground where people throw rocks at each other for 5 seconds.
I played that game when I was in middle school. What are you talking about?
So the main character is constantly playing video games because real life is not stimulating enough for him. So he does well in school and everything, even though he plays video games all throughout school and whatnot. And so he wishes that his life was more exciting, more like a video game. And that wish becomes somewhat of a reality. Him and a whole group of other people are pulled off into kind of a Hunger Games-esque thing but there's a supernatural twist where they have powers.
Demon internet. I nailed it.
And so his power is a very roundabout, weird power. It is whatever the other person thinks his power is. And so he basically has to play mind games with them to get them to think about what his power is so that he can activate his power. Because if they don't have a solid image of what his power is, what they think his power is, then it won't activate for him.
I'm sorry. That is the stupidest premise I've heard. Like, because it's the easiest thing to rig. You go, hey, Joe, don't think about me having robotic arms and laser eyes. I win.
So he actually runs into people where they're told what his power supposedly is, but because they doubt it, it won't activate. And so just telling them isn't sufficient. So for a lot of the people, because they doubt it.
I think a more appropriate title is You Power Me Up.
Okay. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's only got one season. It's on Crunchyroll. And yeah.
Well, hello, True Dorman. Yeah, no, you put Crunchyroll. I know Kurt's not putting anything from Crunchyroll here. Which, by the way, I was looking at, I think the current Demon Slayer is on Crunchyroll right now. The current season.
I thought it was supposed to be.
The first episode did drop, yeah.
Yeah.
I sent you a screenshot from it.
That was from that episode. Well, yeah, no, I mean, go ahead.
I told my wife I had a cursed image to show her, and she's in the middle of taking a bite of food and drinking, and I show it to her, and she real close to spit takes, and she puts her mouth over the sink just in case she's gonna spit it out. But yeah, so it was pretty good.
Thumbs up. Demon Slayer in a nutshell is Zenitsu biting the head of
Tanjiro.
Thank you. I wanted to call him Demon Slayer, but Tanjiro. There it is. And I forget the line is like,
do you know how I feel?
Yeah. You don't have it. And it's just, Kurt, am I wrong? Does that not just, if you had to describe what's Demon Slayer about, you just show them that picture like, hey, if you like the show.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm nerding out about Control, which is a little bit older game. I think it's I've heard about it, but it came to the Unlimited Game Pass here last month. I want to say is when it landed, and I was like, that looks interesting. And I watched the trailer. They let you see what it's about, and like, okay, that really looks interesting. And what it is I can't tell you. Basically, don't watch any walkthroughs, just watch the launch trailer or something like that. It is essentially a government organization. You're in this weird building, and it's called Control. And in this world, it's kind of like X-Files, right? There's this secret government organization that's U.S. government, right? That is there for the abnormal power objects that happen in the world and the chaos they cause. So they're kind of like it's not paranormal. I'm not even sure what it is, to be honest. Here's a little hint. Just this is the opening of the game. Well, you're first person, right? It's not a shooter, it's more of an adventure game. I mean, there's some shooting aspects, don't get me wrong, but it's like action adventure, if you will, from a first person standpoint. And you walk into the building, and it's the intro of the game. Right. I mean, we started off in the building, and the character's talking. So as a player, I'm assuming she's talking to me. And then it comes clear that something spins on the screen. It's almost kind of in your eyes, but not in your eyes. And it becomes clear she's talking to that. And then it's got some dark adult themes. Okay. So you hear a gunshot, you go into a room, and there's a dude unalived by his own choosing, and you have no choice but to go pick up the gun. It's interesting. And so the way it ties the box, so I said I'm nerding out about that, and I'm telling you, if I even got one moment there that you thought was interesting, I'm not describing it well enough. It is, art style is amazing, the sound is crazy, and what I love about it the most is you have reasons to not know why things are going on. So we're learning new stuff as a player at the same time the character's learning new stuff, as are some of the actual surrounding characters because of what's going on. It reminds me, I've been listening to this season of Botched, and they picked SCP. Now, Botched is a D&D, loose D&D improv show with some drunken misfits.
Not for kids at all.
Not for kids, no. But they did SCP, which is a monster universe. So Cure, Contain, Protect, I think is what it stands for. It has its own, and so they've been mixing some D&D rules with that world. It's gone well. This game kind of feels like that. You hear them talking about going back to the site and SCP and researching these objects. Control is very object based, and the two combined has just been great. And if you're if you're into D&D, but you want something different, you definitely check out Botched. But it's not even rated R. It's like NC-17. Is that what that? I mean, they're
Yeah.
yeah.
But I will say this season of Botched might actually be my favorite. It just
Me too.
They've really embraced the theme and really got into it. Had a really successful launch of this season.
I like it for slightly different reasons, because the way it's set up with that universe is they get to try all kind of good characters and all kind of jokes. And if a joke or a chain is not going the right ways, it's contained in an episode, and they can kill the characters off and then just roll new ones.
Right.
And it just keeps it fresh and new. And they are, I always knew they were talented. I always knew they were funny, but to me, it's really showing off the width and breadth of their talents.
Yeah. I think it's great. So
yeah. All right, Kelsey, you might want to fast forward 10 minutes here.
So what I'm nerding out about is a new to me, anime on Netflix. It just entered its second season. Called Blood of Zeus.
Wait. You're confusing me, Kurt.
That's because you didn't look at the second column.
I know, I am. I thought what you wrote was this title. Like, wait. There's an anime with that title on it.
Yeah, and never trust my first column. So, it's meant for you. Period. So,
gentle listeners, if you like me, are tired of old Pappy's nonsense, go to patreon.com/wise_n_nerdy. Pledge at the Scotch tier level, and we can just fire him. It's cool.
Oh, I'm just waiting for you to stop your yapping. Very appropriate. So Blood of Zeus, I'm only like most of the first episode into it. So I really haven't watched a whole lot of it. But
you said it was on Netflix, right?
It is. Yep. Okay. And I really I really enjoy traditional mythology. And the premise seems to be, oh, you're familiar with Zeus and the old gods and that mythology? Well, here are the stories that you didn't hear about back then. And it's been pretty cool so far. So again, I don't know if I'm going to end up sticking with it. I think I am, but I've got enough interest right now where it feels good.
Well, and Charles, didn't you watch Castlevania?
Yeah.
This is done by the same animation studio.
Oh, okay. Right. I heard really good things about Castlevania. I just haven't watched it.
I need to get back into it because it's deep anime. I mean, it was very just the sensibilities and the stylings and the writings. And it was almost like you dive into that deep end off the high dive and you get out and you're like, I'll get back to that high dive after a while. Let me swim around. So I think I'm ready to get back into it. I've got through the first season and most of the second, because it's also very horror based, which is on the edge of what I like. I like suspense and monsters, but I mean, there's some actual horror base to it. I get why people love it. And of course it suits the game, but it's
so the other thing about Blood of Zeus is it is not for kids. It's TV MA. And in the first episode, someone's lower jaw gets severed from the rest of his body. And by that I mean the top of his head gets severed from the rest of his body, but through the jaw, and it's full on bloody. It just is. So
I mean that makes sense with the Castlevania series.
Yeah.
What did I miss? Where you said that where you can watch it?
Netflix.
All right, I guess I'll cue that one up too.
Yep. And the second season just hit, which is why they were promoting it. And I went, I like mythology. Let's take a look at it. And so far, no over-the-top screaming kids and stuff. It's
definitely no Percy Jackson.
I got to tell you, the Percy Jackson series, I didn't read the books, but I enjoyed it. So
it's all right.
Yeah. And X-Men wrapped up, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet.
That's good because I've only watched the first 2 episodes.
I finished it up last night. I caught up with the last 2 episodes.
They didn't do what I thought they were going to do, but I'm okay with it. So anyhow, but Joe put in a really interesting 4th choice.
Is this like the first time I put it in and it was a fan-made thing?
No, this was actually announced.
Okay.
Amazon is going to be working on a live action Spider-Man series starring Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Noir.
Noir.
Yeah, yep.
Has to be Noir because he's.
I was waiting for you
Noir.
to. I was waiting for you to be like, what? A 60-year-old Spider-Man? No, yeah, Spider-Man Noir.
You forget who you're talking to here.
So, yeah. I am cautiously optimistic. That's what I'm going with.
Me too. And I think, look, Nicolas Cage has been wanting to play
Superman.
A superhero?
A superhero. Look, he did Ghost Rider. I barely count that because it was kind of terrible. But
I mean, that's Nicolas Cage.
Right.
Either it's great or it's terrible. That's just
right.
That's Nicolas Cage.
But him wanting to be Superman for so long and having gone through the test pictures and the scripting and everything, that would have been a train wreck beyond all train wrecks. He should never play Superman. However, Spider-Man Noir, that might be the right character for him.
And whenever I think of Nicolas Cage, neither of you have watched Community, right?
Yeah. I watched it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, you both did. Okay, it makes me think of the Nicolas Cage episode where Abed has his meltdown about Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
2 questions. One is, I'm assuming I'm wrong here, but have you watched Through the Spider-Verse, Kurt?
Yes.
So, I mean, Nicolas Cage is Noir. I mean, he is perfect character for him. So, okay.
Yeah.
I think even live action, I think it would be because you keep the mask on,
right?
Whatever,
right?
Most of the time.
Now the real question is: are they going to actually do it black and white? I kind of hope they do, because I think it worked really well for
or sepia, that brownish white.
Yeah, but the what's the werewolf one? I'm now blanking
Werewolf
on.
by Night.
Werewolf by Night. Yeah, I think it works really well with that. I think they could. I think they could do it really well with Spider-Man Noir as well.
Yep, and I think they do. I again, who the heck knows what they're doing? But I think if they went the black and white with the occasional hint of color, like they did with Werewolf by Night, and like Sin City is another example, right? That kind of hyper realistic view, black and white.
I want that actually. I want Sin City Spider-Man Noir
because actually Sin City is noir, really.
Yeah, 100%. And
right,
it was what is that, Mark Miller?
Frank Miller.
Frank Miller.
Yeah. So I think if they were to hyper stylize it like that, I think that could be very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So cautiously optimistic is a great way to feel about that.
Roll that dice.
Shut up, Mike.
Time for a commercial break.
Ugh.
Oh, about time
for a commercial break.
That's what I said. Yes, sir. Let's try. I think we did that last week. There we go. We need some new music, people. Hook us up. Hit us up. Call your dad. wiseandnerdy.com/call dad. And tell us where we can help find some new music. But right now, just kind of jam out with your kids. Hey, you know what? Real quick, if your kid does jam out with you, make a video of it. Send it to us. TikTok, however you want to send it over, just send us a link. We'd love to watch it.
Support the podcast by going to wiseandnerdy.com because why not?
that doesn't support us at all. Patreon.com/wise_.
That's where all the links are.
Yeah, they are there. So there's Linktree/wise. That was good, that Kurt. Good job, Skirt. Good job, Skirt.
VO by Kurt.
All right, roll them dices.
Your underscore.
Nope, we did that already.
What do you love?
Council of Dads. Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
All right, Council of Dads here. We brought this up, I think, in the after show or right at the end of the show at some point, and it seemed like an interesting topic of discussion. What do you guys think about? Where do you land on teachers unions / unions in general?
Bearcrawling@gmail.com. That's what I'm going to say first. So I got to tell you, I'm torn.
That's all right, I'm torn.
And I think
Kurt's a little old.
Unions have their place. I think they are put into place. Well, I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I possibly can with this.
Here, I'll break it for you if you want.
I mean, you can. Yeah.
He has a button with your voice on it that says unions suck. Yeah.
I think unions, they definitely have a place and a purpose, but I also think that a lot of unions have gone beyond that purpose, and they are abusive in a real sense, and they're not helpful in a lot of cases, and so there are instances where they are very useful, but there are also instances where they are very, very detrimental.
Yes,
it's tough. I've seen places where it definitely works because it helps with negotiations. It keeps both sides more or less honest. I without remembering the full details, okay. I think it was UPS had that big union strike, and what the union was asking for did not seem outrageous from what was reported, at least. And they just needed to keep each other honest, right? That probably wouldn't have happened without a union. Don't know about how the rest of it works, but that seems like that's a time when it worked as it should have. I believe in being able to hold people accountable and being able to make agreements with people, and that's where unions kind of hurt. Because I the one time I got to go to California was to work IEEE show, and I was there with a host specifically, so I was there doing all her sound and recording her stuff specifically, and I could do that, but the union tech had to sit next to me. Now, he didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
His job was literally to sit next to us, and the conference had to pay him. And I was like, I kind of talked to him. I was like, dude, I mean, don't you get bored? He's like, yeah, but it's good money, but it's good money. And not all gigs are like that where he just has, but 3 days he just sat there all day.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but why? But why though? Teachers unions. Oh yeah, okay. The random kid did this one. Actually, that's the other part of it. We're a union just by saying so. But I was at a job at one point.
You know what that's from, right?
He said the Newsies. Now see it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then you should have sang it.
Never seen it. I don't know.
Oh, it's great. It's great. But go ahead. Finish your thought.
All right. So, when you, like he's talking about, there was a point where I had a job where the top, it was a thin layer of top, right? There's only 4 or 5 board VIP, whatever they are. They were getting real stressed out because they were trying to sell the company, and they were getting super stressed out, and they kept trying to bring more and more pressure on us. The department specifically that I was in that kept this company afloat and really was what they were buying. And we didn't unionize, but I did lead the pack and said, look, just chill. Basically, I said, just chill. We're doing the work. We're turning out the numbers. I even to my intermediary boss, I got real loud. She's like, well, you shouldn't say stuff like that. I'm like, they want to fire me. Because I guarantee you everybody else will leave. Nobody here is causing a problem. We're all supporting you in selling this building or this company, whatever it is. We're doing our job still to the best of our ability. Stop nitpicking everything and bringing so much pressure on us. And it wasn't a union, but it got them to go, all right, he might not be right, but everybody else thinks he's right. So we got to chill out.
Right.
Yeah.
so the one, so it's weird. Part of the reason I'm torn is because I actually want to be in a union at some point, because as a voice actor, I can't get the good
Sure.
jobs if I'm not union. So there's that, but you can't get into the union unless you book a union job as a non-union actor. It's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, you can't be in the union until you book a union
There's
job.
some side projects.
So they're gatekeepers.
Yes, very much so. But they also maintain the pay schedules. And so if you're in a union gig, you are guaranteed to get paid X amount of money.
Yeah.
Oh
man, I can quit my job today, go union on the movie sets as a AAMT, and make what did one of my employees said they made in a month? $20,000.
Yeah.
In 1 month?
Yeah. But it was the hardest month of their life.
Right.
Because very little sleep, long hours on set, hard conditions, whatever. But yeah.
So the places where I think unions are hurtful, frankly, I think is largely in the schools, the teachers unions.
Yeah.
My wife worked in a school for a while, and the cool thing is, like, nowadays it's illegal to force you to be in the union. What's not illegal is to charge you a administrative fee that's exactly the same price as the union dues.
Yeah.
Which everybody has to do. If you're not a part of the union, then you have to pay the administration fee, which is just crap. It's just crap.
Yeah.
It just, and so I was a member of a union when I was in high school, because I had a part-time job at the telephone company. It did me, I guess the only good that it did me was it had already set the minimum pay for part-time employees, but otherwise I got no benefit from it except for paying dues every paycheck. Yeah, it's that's random kid. That's a great suggestion. Or as I like to call them, the neighborhood mafia. So
that's another night.
Yep. That is another night, but a great suggestion. Thank you
for our podcast listeners. Random kid brought up HOAs in the comments.
Yeah. So part of the issue with unions is, at the time that unions kind of became a thing, which was really turn of the 20th century, they were necessary. Absolutely 100% necessary, because the abuse was running rampant. For certain industries, they're absolutely necessary. Industries like the trucking industry, frankly, because the unions make sure that there's at least a certain level of safety that has to happen, that truckers can only drive certain amount of hours per day, things like that. That is valuable. And you can see companies would absolutely abuse that. There's other ways around that, which is a tangent I'm not willing to go down right now, but there are other ways to protect against that. And it's going to sound like I have a big problem with teachers unions, and I think I generally do. And part of the problem is those teachers unions do not protect the teachers from also being abused. Like, I think that there are other issues, but the teachers still end up paying things out of pocket. They still pull longer hours than they get paid for, because they have to do right by the kids. And the unions do not deal with that enough. I will say they don't deal with that enough. They are not student focused as much as they are employee focused. So great. Teachers have more development workshop days. Cool. That means they get to work more. Just without students in the classroom. Awesome. So I don't know. I just think that I'd love to see the union game kind of reconfigured.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's union should only it's much like how I believe about college life. College should not be for everything out there ever and everybody should ever go. It should be for the things that truly need it, like doctors and lawyers. And you could even add classes like how to be an honest politician or stuff that we don't have now.
Well, that's an
But
oxymoron.
yeah, all right. So a union really should mean the coming together of two parties. And sometimes it can, as we've talked about, and sometimes it can't. And that's why it's just a tough topic, because it's such a hot button word. I remember the first time I heard about a union, it was basically somebody scaring me about them going, oh no, they take your money and they force you into this. And if you don't take that job, I mean, it was based on some kernels of truth, like dues and yeah, you're in line. And so when they get you that job, you go to that job. And when it's over, it's over, but they really did it in this nightmare fashion. But at the same time, I worked for Georgia Pacific for about a year, and I was in management. So there's only two types of people. There was a workers and there was management, and they were the management. My bosses. I was a healthcare guy, so I was like the director of healthcare or something for the plant safety or whatever. They were terrified of unions because how it worked at UPS as us versus them mentality. Like, but why though? The Actors Guild, SAG. Right. There's probably some downsides to it, and then another sideways interests into getting into it and all that other jazz. But the two major strikes were over things that, if you really pay attention, I'm sorry, it's Writers Guild, not SAG. SAG supported, but it was Writers Guild that had a strike. But it's over things of like, are we seriously not updating their contract for a decade now when this new technology came out and they're not getting any money, but you are actually as a studio lining your pockets? That why okay, so we need a union then, because that's not right, man.
Right.
It's just I hate it. Yep. We got some other great topics from Random Kid to bring up. But Joe, Daiso Dele Rolo.
Oh, really?
Roll the dice!
Shut up, Mike.
Dad joke.
Really, though?
It's your favorite. It really is. Why did the union organizer bring a ladder to the meeting?
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Kudos for finding a very quickly themed bad dad joke. All right, repeat it.
Why did the union organizer bring a ladder to the meeting?
He hates capitalists.
Because he wanted to take the negotiations to the next level.
Nice.
I hurt a little bit on that one.
So, Charles, I think this might be what your therapist told you. Your wife has complained.
Dice.
Shut up, Mike.
Your wife has complained that you never buy her flowers. What do you say to that? And your answer is clearly, to be honest, I had no idea my wife even sold flowers.
That hurts on multiple levels. Like it was a multi-level bad dad joke.
Too real.
So it hit. Oh. Roll the dice.
Roll the dice.
Roll.
Roll.
Shut up, Mike.
Daddy, can't tell me a story.
Yes, I can, kiddo. Thank you for finally asking the right question. I appreciate you. The phrase I wrote down here is "you didn't earn that anger," and this really ties well with something that we let in with the show about the Gen X and therapy and those kind of things. I'm hardcore Gen X. There's a few things that I land on, but every once in a while I'm like, yeah, no, screw you other generations. Gen X had a crap from the boomers, and we had to deal with everything else, so we're all right. But I legit without dragging out the story here, I legit went through some major emotional trauma in my life when I was 12. And it changed who I was. And so I went through all of that, and I mean, we had major things. This now, I mean, it was legitimate. Did you
a random kid?
I'm too legit. When you flash the gang signs too, as I'm telling my heartfelt story.
Yeah,
I took.
It wasn't gang signs. It was the MC Hammer thing.
I took Joe off the air. You flash gang signs. All right. So, flash forward to now. My son has some anger issues, Oakland, and is based out of the fact that his nanny died, and they were very close, and he was young. I honestly, I can't remember how old he was, but he's probably between 12 and 14. It's impactful. And I've always tried to teach him about life and death, being a paramedic, and because I see how people hold on to things. I see how my wife holds on to things. And I was trying to teach me different, but he held on to it. But he was letting the anger just build and build and build. And in the last year, so while he's been 19, he and I really got into it one night because he was just going over all this other stuff about, he let this guy, he basically got sent home from work early because he let a customer start some crap with him, and he just amped it up. And so fortunately he kept his job. They just sent him home, and he's ready. And I finally just said this line to him. We were going back and forth. Like, no, you didn't earn this anger. You did not earn it. And I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. What I'm asking about is that kind of thought process of when we're talking about help, we're talking about helping each other out, those kind of things. I know the oversimplified answer that I hold on to in my life is I carried that with me. I'm the one that has to let it go. And I was trying to express that point to him, but I did say you didn't earn that anger. And is that honestly a thing that we can share in this world? I mean, it is, because pain, I've built my mental health life on pain is pain, right? You can identify and help people through different traumas when you can touch your own trauma, type of deal. And not comparing apples to oranges, right? So I did have to back off to him with it and say, look, I understand this is the only anger you have and you don't know, but I'm sorry, I'm telling you. And I'm always open to self-awareness. I'm working on it. That's why I'm sharing it here. It's more of a sharing moment of, I'm working on it, but I do kind of believe not I should compare his life to mine, but compared to what I went through, he didn't earn it. What do you guys think on that?
Joe, you got an opinion?
My first thought is feelings are a tough subject because they're often very irrational. So regardless of whether they should feel angry or should feel whatever, like logically speaking, and logic often has nothing to do with feelings, but logically speaking, whether they should feel angry or sad or whatever, it doesn't change the reality of what they're feeling is what they're feeling. And so it's regardless of whether they've earned it or not, doesn't change the fact that they're feeling it.
I get that.
Yeah. So ironically, this is something I've been trying to work on myself, because I tend to, when I get angry, and I don't get angry often, but when I do, I will bottle it up because I'm not one to lash out, and I will hang on to it for a long time.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that I've been reading about a lot more and have come around to is what you said this was Oakland?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you did anything wrong. So let's just take that out of the picture.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So, but what an approach I might have taken with him, especially given his age, is I might have said, you let that person take control of you. And what I mean by that is we have the ultimate control over everything that happens in our lives. And people freak out when I say that sometimes, because they're going, well, what if I got hit by a car? That happened to you.
Right.
But how you react to that event is completely within your control. You can get ticked off at the driver. You can be really sad because you lost your limbs. I don't know, but you can be you can. There's all kinds of feelings that can happen based on this thing that happened to you. But you also have the ability to let it go and to just move forward. And that is really hard sometimes because in the heat of the moment, your emotions are running wild. And if you can take a beat and go, how valuable is this for me to hang on to? What is the upside for me? And most of the time, there is no upside, right? Most of the time, it's the sooner I can get past this, the better. I'm not saying don't process your feelings. I'm not saying don't talk about it. I'm not saying bottle it up. I'm saying do what you need to do, but at some point, you have the choice to hang on to it or to let it go. And anger is one of the most toxic things, right? It just, and if we can learn earlier to not let that person take control of our lives, because that's what this is. Like, this person stole Oakland's mind share at that point, right? And stole it for whatever the given amount of time was. Whether he earned it or not is not, to Joe's point, is not really relevant because everybody's got their own thing. And as a kid, the percentage of time from his life that he became angry is a much higher percent of his life than it is yours right now. Right? You know, a day in your life is a much smaller percentage than a day in his life. Steven. I'm just saying that, and again, this is something I'm struggling with right now and I'm trying to get better at, but the more that we can just take control and not give that control to anybody else, the better our lives are. Like, I literally went through a thing where 4 days ago, I was really angry and I'd been angry for a week. And I said, I need to let this go.
Yep.
And I let it go. And it was hard, but immediately it was better.
So I didn't say, well, I definitely didn't say all that. And I didn't say it in the way that you said it, which would have been way better. The two things I did kind of come across is I talked about how that guy stole his job in that day. That kind of like, you know, he was leaving, he was doing this, he was whatever. You could just ignore him because he's not thinking about you. You got sent home and you're raging here in the house. So I did get to, and it was a little harsher, of course, and it was a little, but it seemed to land some. And then the last thing I did say to him, I was like, I still in that moment, and for everybody wondering why I brought up the Gen X stuff, that's what I was relating to, that tough mentality that sometimes we are stuck in between that, hey, you don't get therapy and help, and that vulnerableness at the same time, because we had to take care of ourselves. You know, that's why I tied it into this. But that what I said to him was whether or not I believe you deserve this or not doesn't matter. Whether you believe it, you deserve it or not doesn't matter. You have to realize that right now, what you're angry at is something that happened in the past, and you keep carrying it with you. And at some point, you have to figure out how to put it down. And he's old enough to remember me going through my anger issues and working those out. I said that to him. And I said, so you know, if you need to talk to anybody, of course we can find you a counselor. But until then, when you're ready to start dealing with your anger, I can help you deal with your anger. And we've actually been better since. He seems to be a lot less angry since. And you know, we're trying to do things for him. But yeah, it's just two things can be true at once sometimes. I want to help him. I'm there for him. And I can admit with what Joe said, feelings are feelings. What you feel, you have no comparison. I mean, a broken toe hurts until you blow a hand off or something. You know, no comparison of pains. I don't know where that went. I'm sorry. I shocked everybody. I brought everybody out of that. But
rub some dirt on it. You'll be all right.
So it makes me think of Major Pain when he tells him, you want to stop thinking about that? Give me your pinky.
Exactly. But the two things are true. I can believe he didn't earn it, and I can believe that he feels what he feels because that's all he knows. And they're opposite of each other, but they're there.
Yeah.
That's
And haven't watched the anger management movie.
Goose
Goose
Braba.
I can't tell you how often, because we use Microsoft Teams for internal chat in the company.
Yeah.
And again, my boss, who's my best friend, throughout the week, not every day, but like once a week at least, I just type to him, Goose Fraba.
Is it Steven? Is it Steven that you type it to?
Goose Fraba. It's that, and if I'm feeling particularly randy, I feel pretty. Oh, so pretty. Yeah.
So, Joe, Randy's things that old people say when they, a little spicy. They feel a little spicy. That's what that means. And on that note, we're going to turn this car around and go home, everybody. Yeah, you got to go home, but you can't stay here. So that's going to be it for Wise and Nerdy tonight. We appreciate you being with us. And we'll be back next week. Maybe Pappy Kurt will be, maybe not. We'll see.
Follow these nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
And VO by Kurt everywhere. Bad VO by Kurt. Shut up, Mike.
Kelsey Art says, great show. Shut up, Mike.